Hey mathematics learners, welcome to Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. So on today's video tutorial, guys, we are going to be tackling question 3.2 from the grade 12 mathematical literacy paper 1 that was written in June 2023. And in this video tutorial, guys, we're going to be analyzing a box and whisker diagram. Okay, so this question falls under the umbrella of data handling, and we're going to be analyzing a box and whisker diagram. So before we get started with today's video tutorial, guys, please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Please make sure that you click on that notification bell so that you get notified every single time I upload a new video tutorial, guys. And also, please don't forget to give these video tutorials a huge thumbs up, because that really helps the channel grow and it helps the channel to reach more learners that want to better their mathematics marks. Also, guys, just a tip, right? So if you're basically studying or going through box and whisker diagrams, please have a look at all the video tutorials that I've done for you guys on the channel, where I've basically analyzed a box and whisker diagram. Okay, that's the only way that you're actually going to excel in the topic, and that's the only way that you're basically going to understand this topic better. Go through all the video tutorials that I've done where I've basically analyzed a box and whisker diagram. Okay, so I'll put the link to all those video tutorials in the description below, right? Please have a look at those video tutorials. Okay, that's how, guys, that's how you're going to pass math lit. Okay, don't just look at one question. Have a look at different questions where a box and whisker diagram is being analyzed. Okay, that is how you are going to master this topic. Okay, so that is a tip for me to you guys. Have a look at all my video tutorials, and I'll also just I'll basically write the scope as well as compile a list of video tutorials where I've basically gone through those topics for you guys. Okay, I'll put it in the community post. Have a look at that scope and have a look at the list of video tutorials that I'll basically link to each and every topic, right? And just go through them while you are studying. Okay, guys, please engage with the video tutorials. That is the only way that you are basically going to do well in mathematical literacy. Okay, so without any further ado, guys, let's get started with today's video tutorial. Like I mentioned, guys, in today's video tutorial, we're going to be having a look at question 3.2. And in question 3.2, guys, we are going to be analyzing these three box and whisker diagrams. Okay, so let's get started. It says Annexure C shows the percentage box and whisker plots of the unemployment rate for all the provinces in South Africa from 2029 to 2021. It says use Annexure C to answer the questions that follow. Okay, so we are told that now this Annexure C, it shows in percentages, right, the box and whisker plot of the unemployment rate for all provinces in South Africa. So these box and whisker plots basically represent in percentages, right, the unemployment rate for all the provinces in South Africa from 2019 to 2021. Okay, so we're going to basically use these box and whisker diagrams to help us answer the questions that are given to us. Okay, but before we even get started with these questions, okay, I just want to quickly explain what is a box and whisker diagram and what type of information does a box and whisker diagram actually give us. Okay, so guys, a box and whisker diagram, right, is a box plot, right, that displays the 5-number summary of a set of data. Okay, so it displays the 5-number summary of a set of data. What do I mean when I talk about a 5-number summary of a set of data? Okay, so let's say, for example, you are given a set of data, right? I'm going to basically stick to this example. Okay, let's say I basically say to you guys, the following marks, right, basically represent the marks out of 30, okay, for a maths lit test that 10 learners obtained in a class. Okay, so basically now I want to explain the concept of the box and whisker diagram basically representing the 5-number summary. So when we talk about a 5-number summary, guys, we are talking about the minimum value. okay, we are talking about the first quartile, we are talking about the second quartile or the median, we are talking about the third quartile, and we are talking about the maximum value. So these values are the 5-number summary. Okay, so if I basically said to you, okay, let's basically draw a box and whisker diagram, okay, that represents the 5-number summary for this set of data. Okay, what would we do? The first thing we'd have to do, right, is that we'd have to look at this data that is given to us, and we'd have to first make sure that this data is in ascending order, okay, from the lowest value to the highest value. Okay, so once we have basically put our data in ascending order, then we can start off, and then we can basically determine what the 5-number summary is, right? We can determine the minimum value, we can determine Q1, we can determine Q2, we can determine Q3, and we can determine what the maximum value is. Okay, so let's just quickly do that. Guys, please note, this is an additional lesson to us basically looking at this question. Okay, so I'm basically doing an additional lesson. Okay, but if you already know this and you're just here for the answers, you can basically just skip through to where I basically give the solutions. But in just the first 10 minutes, I just want to quickly do this lesson, okay, so that you guys basically understand what we are doing and what we are talking about when we are basically talking about analyzing a box and whisker diagram, and basically what the information that is contained in a box and whisker diagram contains. Okay, right, so let's see. So what would be the minimum for this set of data? Okay, so that one is nice and easy. The minimum value is the lowest value. Okay, so here our minimum, we already know, is equal to 15. Okay, what is the maximum? Also, the maximum value is very easy to obtain from your set of data, because the maximum value is the highest value, the largest value, right? So in this case, our maximum value is 88, right? And then now, what we need to obtain is the first quartile, the second quartile, or the median value, and the third quartile. Okay, so how would we basically go about finding the quartiles? Okay, so firstly, guys, it's always advisable to first get what the median is. Okay, and with this set of data, okay, we can see that we basically have an even set of data. Okay, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, we've got an even set of data. Okay, so that basically means that when we want to obtain our median or our Q2, our median will actually be a value that is in between two values from this data set. Okay, what do I mean by that? Right, so here we basically want to determine what the median is, right? And I did mention that because we've got an even data set, our median is going to be between two values. Okay, so how will we go about determining what this median is? All right, so firstly, the first step is basically trying to determine what these two values are. Okay, and we should know that these two values are going to be two values that basically divide our data set into two halves. Okay, so in other words, these two values, or on the left side of these two values and on the right side of these two values, we need to have the same number of values. Okay, so let's see. We've got 1, 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's count 3 also on the other side. Actually, let me try and put this 88 there as well, just to make our lives a bit easier. All right. Okay, so we're going to count 3 on the left, right? And we're going to count 3 on the right. The whole point of me basically counting 3 on the left and on the right is that I'm basically trying to find the median. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to count 3 on the left. I'm going to count 3 on the right. Okay, remember we want to have two values in the middle. So that means I need to count another one there. So it's counting 4 on the left and counting 4 on the right. Okay, so we can see here, right, from what I've highlighted, that actually then our Q2 value is going to be a value that is in between 49 and 55. Okay, so now to basically determine our Q2, because we've got two values, okay, we are basically going to, okay, to determine our Q2 or our median, all that we're going to do is that we are basically going to take that 49 plus that 55, and we are going to divide it by 2, because I did mention that if we basically have an even data set, that means that our median value is going to be a value that is in between two values. Do you see that? Okay, so therefore if you take 49 and you plus 55 and you divide by 2, you'll get that your median is actually equal to 52. Okay, so our median is actually 52. So now, how would we get our Q1 and how would we get our Q3? So now, right, we've basically now added another value to this data set, which is our median value, né? Right? So to help us determine our Q1 and to help us determine our Q3, right, we need to now incorporate or include this 52 that we've now calculated in the data. Okay, so I'm basically going to do this. I'm going to rewrite this. So this is the data set that we're going to be working with now to help us determine our Q1 as well as our Q2. You guys mustn't forget that now. This is our Q2. Okay, so that is our Q2. Okay, so what we're trying to find now is what is our Q1 and what is our Q3. So the Q1, guys, is basically the middle value, right, on the lower part of our data set, or the middle value, right, on the left side of our data set. Okay, so here we can see that on the left side, right, we've got an odd set, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values. Okay, so then our Q1 value, right, is going to be a value that will basically divide this part of our data set into 2. So a value that divides this part of our data set into 2. Okay, so what is that value? Do you guys see that that value is actually equal to 26? Okay, because we see that on the left side of 26, right, if we're just looking at the highlighted data set, we've got 2 values, and on the right side of our data set that I've just highlighted in yellow, we only have 2 values. Okay, so here we can see that actually our Q1 is equal to 26. Okay, then let's have a look at finding how we basically going to find our Q3. Okay, so same thing here. I'm just gonna highlight the right side, or the values that are on the right of our Q2, right? And these values are what we're going to be focusing on to help us determine our Q3. Okay, so same thing here. You can already immediately see what our Q3 is, right? Our Q3, okay, here we see we've got 2 values that are on the right, on the left side of 68, if we're just focusing on the values that are highlighted in yellow, right? And we also have 2 values on the right side of 68, right, when we're just focusing on the values that are highlighted in yellow. Therefore, our Q3 is basically equal to 68. Okay, so this is how you go about finding your minimum, finding your maximum, finding your Q1, finding Q2, and finding Q3. Okay, Q2 is also called your median. All right, so that is how we basically find our 5 number summary. So from this 5 number summary, guys, I did mention when I started the video tutorial that a box and whisker diagram, a box and whisker plot, displays the 5 number summary. So how would we then now display this 5 number summary on our box and whisker diagram? Okay, so let's do that. Let's quickly draw a box and whisker diagram and display this 5 number summary. All right, so I'm going to start off by just drawing a line graph. Okay, so basically our line graph goes all the way to negative infinity all the way to positive infinity, right? Then I'm going to think of how I'm basically going to go up in my line graph. So from here, I can just see that I can actually go up in 5s. Okay, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Okay, I'll need more space, so I'm just going to extend there. Then I'm going to start counting again. So It's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90. So we just need to go up until 90. And also take into consideration that our number line goes all the way to negative infinity and all the way to positive infinity. So all that I'm going to do now, right, I'm just going to plot these values, right, in this number line, okay? And the only values that I'm basically going to be putting on my box and whisker diagram, guys, is literally the 5 number summary, right? The minimum value, right? The minimum value, the Q1, the Q2, the Q3, and the maximum value. Those are the only values that I basically want to represent on my box and whisker diagram. Okay, so I've got 15. Okay, so I've got 15, right? I've got 26. So 26 is somewhere there, right? Then I've got 52. 52 is somewhere there, approximating. Okay, then we've got 68. 68 is somewhere there. And we've got 88. 88 is somewhere there. Okay, then from here, I'm gonna draw my box with our whiskers. Okay, so let me just do that. Okay, from there to there. Okay, from the minimum to my Q1, that's my whiskers. From the Q3 to the maximum, that is the whisker. Okay, and from the Q1 to the Q3, that's where I'm going to have my box. Okay, and we've basically now drawn our box and whisker using the information that was given about the marks that were obtained by 10 learners in a mathematical literacy class. Okay, so please note, okay, I'm still going to basically represent what the minimum is, what the maximum is on the box, okay, or I'm even also going to just show it here. So basically, this value here, okay, that is 15. This value here, that is 26. This value here, that is 52. And this value here, that is 68. And this value here, that is 88. Okay, so this is our minimum value, right? This is our Q1, right? This is our Q2, right? This is our Q3, right? And this is our maximum value. Okay, so basically now we've represented or we've displayed the 5 numbers or the 5 number summary, right, of this set of data on our box and whisker diagram. Okay, so that is basically what a box and whisker diagram is, right? And that is what it represents. Also, another thing we can also remember is that in your questions, right, sometimes you'll find that it will ask you what is the 25th percentile, what is the 75th percentile, what is the 50th percentile, right, of from the box and whisker diagram. Okay, so it's very important that you guys understand that. So just for additional information, okay, what is a percentile? Guys, when we're talking about a percentile, right, we are talking about a comparison score, okay, between a particular score and the scores of the rest of the group, right? So if we're talking about a percentile, guys, it just shows the percentage of scores that a particular value surpassed, okay? So for example, let's say a particular learner, we're going to focus on this learner, okay, that basically got 26, okay? So there was a learner that basically obtained 26 for their maths lit test, right? So this 26 basically shows that this learner that got 26 basically got 25% more than the other learners. Okay, so a percentile basically tells us where a particular value ranks. Okay, so I'm gonna basically repeat this. Okay, when we're talking about a percentile, guys, we are talking about a comparison score. Okay, so between a particular value and the scores of the rest of the group or the values of the rest of the group, right? So it shows the percentage of scores that a particular value surpassed. Okay, so for example, like I mentioned, when we look at the learner that basically got 26 when we look at the learner that scored or basically obtained 26, that basically means that because that value is on our Q1, that basically means that that learner basically obtained 25% higher right, than the other learners. Okay, but where am I getting that from? How do I know that the Q1 represents 25% of our data? Okay, let's have a look here. Okay, when we basically look at our box and whisker, right? Our box and whisker basically represents different percentiles. Okay, so from the minimum value to our Q1. So if you go from your minimum value to your Q1, I'm going to do this in yellow. So if you move from your minimum value to your Q1, okay, all the data that is basically represented from your minimum value to your Q1 basically represents 25% of the data given. Okay, if we move from your minimum value to your to your Q2, all the values that are between your minimum value to your Q2 basically represent 50% of the data, right? And then if we move from your minimum value to your Q3, all these values basically represent 75% of the data. And if you move from your minimum value to your maximum value, all these values basically represent 100% of your data. Okay, so how did I basically get to 25% between minimum to Q1, 50% between minimum to Q2? Is that, guys, you basically need to remember that your box and whisker diagram is basically divided into 4 equal sections, right? Where from your minimum to your Q1, that's just represents 25% of the data. From your Q1 to your Q2, that represents 25% of the data. From your Q2 to your Q3, that represents 25% of the data. From the Q3 to the maximum, that represents 25% of the data. Okay, so from there, we can just add. If we want to go from the minimum to Q2, 25% plus 25% gives us 50%. Okay, if we want to move from the minimum to the Q3, okay, 25% plus 25% plus 25%, okay, 25% plus 25% plus 25% gives us 75%. And if you want to move from your minimum to your maximum, 25 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25 gives us 100. Okay, so we can also say that your box and whisker diagram also shows percentiles, okay, because we can see that, okay, from your minimum to your Q1 is actually your 25th percentile. Okay, your Q2 is actually your 75th. Your Q2 is actually your 50th percentile, right? And your Q3 is actually your 75th percentile. Okay, so your box and whisker diagram, yes, it represents your 5-number summary. Yes, it represents your percentiles as well, right? Okay, and it's also important if we're just talking about percentiles, right? Okay, when we're talking about percentiles, we're just talking about a comparison score, right? We are looking at how a particular value did, right, in comparison to other values in the data set. Okay, so when we are talking about percentile, guys, we are talking about how a particular value did, right, compared to other values. Okay, so in other words, like I mentioned here, if we're just going to look at the learner that basically scored 68, right, percent, right, that basically means if a learner basically scored 68%, guys, okay, these values basically represents the percentage for the marks out of 30. So if a learner basically obtained 68%, right, so that means that that mark basically means that this learner's score is basically higher than 75% of the other learners' scores. Okay, so that's basically what it means. So I hope I didn't lose anyone there, but don't really get your head cracked up when it comes to the percentiles. I think what's very important just for Mathlet is just understanding that your Q1 is your 25th percentile, your Q2 is your 50th percentile, your Q3 is your 75th percentile, okay, because that's how they basically are going to ask you questions. Okay, so I hope I basically dissected this part for you in detail. Also, the most important part that I also just wanted to highlight, okay, these are the marks obtained out of 30. Okay, I think I was also supposed to just add to this is that these were the percentages obtained for the marks out of 30 for a Mathlet class test, okay, just so that there isn't confusion. Also, another thing, guys, just because we've added this 52 here, you don't now go and include that 52 when you're calculating the mean and you doing things like that. This 52 is just for the purpose of finding your quartiles. That's why we've basically included it here, right? So that you guys are not confused. All right, so I hope you guys basically appreciated me just going deeper into how you basically analyze your box and whisker diagram, what it means when you're talking about percentiles, what it means when you're talking about the 5 numbers summary. Okay, so from this, guys, we should be more than ready to have a look at the questions, okay, that are given to us. Right, so let's see. Okay, it says use an extra C to answer the questions that follow. Question 3.2.1 says determine the following. A, the lower quartile for 2020. B, the 75th percentile for 2029. And C, the median for 2021. Okay, so here I'm just going to add additional information. Okay, remember, when we're talking about the lower quartile, guys, right, we are talking about the value that's on your lower end of your box and whisker diagram. Okay, so we are talking about your Q1. So we want to basically to determine what is the Q1 for 2020. Okay, then when we look at B, it says the 75th percentile for 2019. Remember, when we basically had a look at this box and whisker diagram that I drew for you guys, right? What did I say the 75th percentile was? Okay, so if you basically have a look here, all right, what is our 75th percentile? Remember, we said that our 75th percentile is our Q3. Remember, okay, the 75th percentile is our Q3. Okay, so that's what this question is asking from you. It wants you to determine what is the Q3, okay, quartile 3 for 2019, and then see what is the median for 2021. Remember, guys, I did mention that the median is Q2. Okay, so that's what we're trying to find from these box and whisker diagrams that are given to us. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, for question 3.2.1a, remember we wanted to determine what the lower quartile is, right, which is Q1, okay, for 2020. Okay, so what is our Q1 for 2020? We're going to have a look at the diagram that is given to us, right? We are just going to focus our attention on the box and whisker diagram for 2020, right? And the box and whisker for 2020 is this one in the middle, okay, because we remember here these diagrams represent the box and these box and whisker plots shows the unemployment rate in percentages for all the provinces in South Africa from 2019 to 2021. Okay, on the y-axis we basically have the percentages, right, and on the x-axis we have the years. Okay, so here we want to focus on the 2020 box and whisker diagram, right? And we want to determine what is Q1. Okay, so Q1 is on your lower end. Okay, so here this would be our minimum value, right? This would be our Q1, right? This would be our median. Okay, this would be our Q3, and this would be our maximum. That is the highest value, so that is the maximum. That is the lowest value, the lowest percentage for this box and whisker diagram. So that is our minimum. Okay, that is our median, the value that basically cuts our data into half. That is our median. That is our Q3. However, we just want our Q1. So in this case, right, this is our Q1. Therefore, the Q1 is a value there. So we're going to try and read off these values now from the left. So we're going to approximate in this case because we're not given what the individual values are. So we're going to try and approximate. So it's somewhere there. Okay, so now we're going to try and see what is the scale telling us. So if we're going from 20 to 30, so that means that these divisions basically represent 2 units. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So it's 22, 24, 26, 28, and 30. Do you see that? So that means that the value here is 22%. Okay, that value here is 22%, meaning that the value that is here, right, is, it's either 21, right? I think it's 21. okay, because it's like almost half, like 21.5, okay? It's like 20.5, okay? But I'm just going to say it's 21. So I'm going to say that here our Q1 is equal to 21, okay, percent. Okay, so that's how you're supposed to go about analyzing that. Okay, let's have a look at 3.2.1b, right? 3.2.1b asked us to basically determine the 75th percentile or Q3 for 2019. Okay, so we're going to focus our attention on the box and whisker diagram for 2019, right? Again, guys, this is our minimum value. Okay, this is our minimum value, right? This is our Q1, this is our Q2, this is our Q3, this is our maximum value. Okay, we want to determine what Q3. This is our Q3. Okay, so we need to read off what this value is here from our y-axis. So we're going to basically try and read that off. So what is that value? So this one is nice and easy, right? So it's 2, 4, 6, 8. So it's 22, 24, 26, 28. It is 28%. Okay, so I read 28%, or you can even say 28.2, because it's literally like not on 28, slightly going off, but I'm just gonna say 28. Okay, 28%. So your upper quartile, okay, or your Q3 or your 75th percentile is equal to 28%. Okay, let's have a look at question 3.2.1c. Question 3.2.1c basically wants us to determine what is the median, right, or Q2 for 2021. Okay, so what is the median for 2021? Remember, guys, again, this is our minimum. This is our minimum. This is our Q1. This is our Q2 or our median. This is our Q3. And this is our maximum. So this is the Q2 or the median that we basically want to read off. Okay, so from here, I'm going to try and read that value off from our y-axis. So I'm going to try and extend this line. Okay, so we can see, remember, these divisions go up in 2 units. Okay, so it's 32%, 34, 36, 38, 40. Okay, so that means that it's in between 30 and 32%. Okay, so I'm going to say that it's not really 31 because it slightly goes over the half mark. Okay, so I'll say it's 31.5%. Okay, but even if you say 31, yeah, it actually goes, it's not half, it's not really it's not half, so it can't be 31, so it's like 31.5%. Okay, so in this case, the median, okay, or the Q2, right, is equal to 31.5%. So do you guys see that this question was actually an easy 6 marks? As long as you know how to analyze your box and whisker diagram, as long as you know what the different sections in our box and whisker diagrams basically mean in terms of percentiles, what it means in terms of quartiles, right? You should be fine. Okay, let's have a look at the last question. Okay, says question 3.2.2 says give 2 reasons why it could be said that the unemployment rate was at its highest in 2021. Okay, so in this question, we're just trying to now see, can we actually now interpret the conclusions that we can basically make from having a look at our box and whisker diagram? What is this box and whisker diagram actually telling us about the unemployment rate? Okay, so we're just going to be focusing on the box and whisker diagram for 2021. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom out so we can still have a look at the information that was given to us, right? So why could we say that the unemployment rate was at its highest, okay, in 2021? Firstly, guys, okay, we can see that the maximum value for 2021 is actually the highest value when you compare it to all the box and whisker diagrams. Do you see that? It's actually the highest value. Okay, so the first reason is that the maximum value is the highest in 2021. That's the first reason. So therefore, we can say that then the unemployment rate was at its highest. in 2021 because the maximum value was the highest. That's the first reason. Okay, what other reason can we give about why we can say that the unemployment rate was the highest in 2021? You can also say that, guys, the median, your Q2, is also the highest in 2021. Okay, your Q3 is the highest in 2021, right? So we can also basically give those reasons as to why we can basically say that the unemployment rate was at its highest in the year 2021. All right, so those are the reasons that we can basically give because they just asked for two. Okay, each reason basically earns you 2 marks. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video tutorial, guys. I hope you guys appreciated the detailed explanations in terms of basically how you basically determine the 5 number summary, what are the percentiles, right, from your box and whisker diagram, right, and then how you basically go about basically calculating or your Q2, your Q1, and your Q3 if you're basically given an even an even data set. Okay, so I hope you guys appreciated this video tutorial. Please make sure that you also watch my other video tutorials where I've basically analyzed the box and whisker diagram. That's how you're gonna master the topic, guys. Okay, and that is it, guys, and I'll see you guys on my next video tutorial. On the next video tutorial, guys, we are going to be having a look at bank tariffs. So this topic basically falls under tariff systems, in particular your bank tariffs, and I've done an amazing video tutorial where I've basically done an in-depth explanation of bank tariffs. So please make sure that you watch this video tutorial. Right after you've watched that video tutorial, this video tutorial will then be a breeze. Okay, so I'll see you guys on my next upload. That is it, guys, and I'll see you guys on my next upload, Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. Bye, guys.